Hey guys, today I want to show you how I make my bows for my cakes, the fondant bows. I'm going to use a piece of fondant. Now you can use just fondant, but I think it does better when you mix a little bit of gum paste with it. It just makes it stiffer and hold its shape better. I've done it both ways. I've done it with just fondant and just gum paste. Both of those work, but I have found that a little bit of fondant mixed with gum paste is the prettiest and best outcome for me. We're going to use a rolling pin. I'm going to use my rotary cutter, and we're going to use some paper towels. And that's it. Let me show you what we do. First, I start by rolling my fondant out. Now, I think the prettier, the thinner you roll your fondant, the prettier and more fabric-like the bow will be. But sometimes you need a thicker bow, and that's okay. But I think a very thin fondant bow resembles fabric or ribbon, which is what we're trying to mimic. Okay, I've got that rolled out. I'm going to cut a long rectangle. I'm going to even it up. This is about how thin I like to roll my fondant. Now, this side was the side that was down on the board, so it's going to be kind of sticky. I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes on each side, just so that it'll dry out enough that we can handle it easily. While that is drying, I'm going to roll another piece out, and that's going to become the little hanging down parts of the bow. And I'm also going to roll a piece to make the knot of the bow. All right, I'm just going to cut it and shape it up like that. Now, depending on how long you want the legs of your bow to be, that'll be how long you cut this. I'm also going to let this dry for a while. I'm going to cut it in half so that I have the two pieces. And you see right here, it was too thin and it's kind of ugly. It's not going to hurt anything. Just trim that off. All right, and then I'm going to also roll a small piece for the knot of my bow. It's going to be the knot. You can see I stretched it. No big deal. Let's just trim it up. It doesn't have to be exact because you're going to fold it. So we have the one piece for the bow. We've got two pieces to cut I call them the legs, the hanging down parts, and then one part for your knot. Next, I'm going to take and cut my paper towel in half. This is one of those select a size, and I've just got one little piece of it. I'm just going to cut it down the middle. And then I'm going to roll these up I'm just going to roll it up. And you would roll that and make that as big as you would need to. Now, actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece again in half, because I saw that it wasn't going to be big enough. And I'm going to roll it up. I'm going to take the other piece of it, add that to it, just so that it's bigger to make my bow, bigger. You're going to roll both halves of these. You're going to need two of those. Okay, now I have two of those. So we're starting with this piece. Then I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to take and find what the middle is of this bow, of this piece of fondant. Catch it at the middle, and then I'm just going to squeeze it together, kind of accordion style, like you would a fan. This is going to be the back of my bow. I'm going to turn it over like this, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like that on the end. I'm going to do that to this end as well. Back and forth, like that. And you will end up with something that looks like this. We're going to lay it down. I'm going to take the paper towel I just made. I'm going to lay it in the center of this loop. I'm going to pull it over and pinch it to that middle piece like that. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to take my piece of rolled up paper towel, lay this all out like you want it, take the edge, pull it over to the middle, and press it. And there you have that part. Next, I'm going to take my knot, the piece I cut for my knot, and I'm going to do exactly what I just did. I'm going to fold it accordion style, back and forth, until I have a piece that looks like this. Then I'm just going to take and fold it. I'm going to curve it around. I'm going to put it right here on my bow, lay it, you know, kind of make it, if you want it to fan out a little bit, fan it out. See, that's what it looks like. Now, I'm going to pick my bow up, push that around to the back, and pinch it. And there you have a bow. Oops, I mashed this little piece right here. Let's bring it back down. And there you have a bow. I would let this dry. If you don't have time to let it dry, I stick it on the cake, but I leave my paper towel in it and let it dry on the cake. This is like a straight bow, but sometimes you don't want it straight. You want it to sit on the cake like this. I just take and leave these paper towels in it, and you just shape it however you want it, however it's going to go on your cake. You may want to lay it out and let it dry flat, you know, like that. You may want to stand it up so that it looks like it's, you know, like you tied it just for your cake or whatever. If I'm not going to go ahead and put it on the cake, I will sit it on a board and put something behind it so that it doesn't fall over backwards. Play with it until it's the shape that you want. And then for these, for the ribbons that hang down, I usually make those as I'm putting it onto the cake, because you want it to take, like, sometimes you'll want it to be, you'll want it to bend, you'll want it to have some movement. So I would take and wait until I was ready to stick it on the cake so that I could stick it on the cake. But I either take and cut the tail like this. Sometimes I'll do it like that. And sometimes I will cut a diamond, like a point. I'll go like that, and then come over here and go like that and pull that piece out. So sometimes I'll do a ribbon with a leg like that, or sometimes I'll do it like this. And then I do the same thing I do with the bow. I just take and fold it back and forth like an accordion, a fan, whatever you want to call it. And then I would stick this onto the cake. I might want to give it some movement, so I would, you know, pick it up and touch it to the cake. Same thing here. You're going to fold it like an accordion, back, forth, like that. And then, you know, like I said, you'll stick it to the cake, give it some movement. If you know what you're going to want it to look like, you can take a paper towel and lay under it here while it dries and let it dry like that. So that is how I make a fondant bow, guys. They are so much easier than they look. I've made so many, and they're much easier than they look. I will put some cakes in here that I've made with bows on them to show you the different ways. You can